expenditures. I looked it over. We can just file this unless there's some questions, but it really represents the first quarter of the operating year, and there's not much significant budget issues that I saw. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll receive and file the statement of revenues and expenditures. Finally, item number 9 is approval of the Treasurer's Report for June 2014. Any questions or concerns? Can I have a motion for approval?
I move that we approve the Treasurer's Report for June 2014.
Any discussion or questions?
Just one comment. I had asked after last meeting that some additional information be put on, and you were going to do that, Lorinda. I notice it's not here. I mean, if we can just do it in the future.
Sure.
Thank you. And the additional information is just information concerning how much we're spending on our engineer, and to have like a year-to-date plus what the current month's costs are, so we can get a handle on how much we're doing there or how much is being spent on them. And we just thought, I talked to Lorinda about, we just thought just adding it to, as a footnote to the Treasurer's Report or something would be the easiest way to do it, instead of creating another report or another piece of paper.
Jim, I assume you're talking about actual charges, not when the bill's paid, but actual charges.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That would make more
yes.
sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not because when it's paid is a completely different picture.
Okay.
I guess I have a couple questions on that request.
Sure.
In the statement of vouchers are the engineer's bills, correct?
Correct.
So are you looking for an accumulative figure
Yes.
as the year goes forward?
Year-to-date?
Yeah, year-to-date. So just so we can see a complete picture of what we're spending on that. I mean, we go through the bills and vouchers, and I mean, you'd have, everybody would have to pull the stuff out and take, and do their own analysis. This way, it'd just be a snapshot for us. That's all.
Okay. One of the other thoughts I have is knowing the business a little bit. When we do projects, there's two different categories for engineering services. One is general engineering services, and the other is related to projects. So we need to break those down. You have any opposition to that?
No, none at all.
Such as the work.
The more information we can get, the better.
So when you talk about road projects versus wastewater treatment plant or water main projects, they have to be put in the right categories for projects, and then there's a category that I would label general services. And I think you have to keep in mind, too, it's my feeling that I've certainly feel that now that our staff has been reduced, and Lorinda's, where there used to be 2 people running the department, now there's 1, that you're going to rely on your engineer a little more for some study services that staff might have been able to do. So I think those are things to keep in mind.
Well, and those are questions we'd have. That's what would, absolutely.
Okay. So I wanted to clarify those issues so that we just don't get a figure unrelated to anything. It's not meaningful that way.
Right.
Okay.
I'd suggest that you have Ann just run a spreadsheet, project category. Wouldn't be bad to run the whole thing. So we could take a look at everything that we do here.
Okay. Next we have the normal manager's report, but in view of the fact we have several people in the audience, I know that they would appreciate being heard sooner than later. And so one of the items on our agenda is consideration of the drainage problem at West River and Loma Circle. This is the Albrights, Mr. and Mrs. Albright are in the audience. I'd like to go to the appropriate pages 40 and 42 in our packets. And the matter was tabled from our June 10th meeting, If you recall, we had cost figures just in excess of $83,000 to address the drainage problem. Following our meeting, our engineer again approached Wayne County, and only to find out that Wayne County's position has become, we're not going to do anything now. We don't have the staff to do any labor. We're not going to be able to contribute any pipe. We won't be able to produce any equipment. Maybe we can do the tree trimming or clearance. So Heil went back and reanalyzed what could be done, and the basic proposition that he's come up with is that we would make well, let me read this report. The proposal is to do clearing and grubbing, including tree removal, along Loma Circle from West River Road up the grade that occurs there. About 230 feet of 12-inch or 24-inch storm sewer would be built, and a ditch would be constructed. So the 230 feet would be in its place where you don't have enough fall to get down to West River Road. And then the water would be picked up that now floods across the properties and go right towards West River Road. When it gets to West River, there's a berm up against the road, and the water would then settle behind that. There's one 12-inch catch basin. We were going to expand that pipe to 24-inch, but under this proposal, we would not do that. We would not cross West River. There would be an accumulation, perhaps in a big storm, of some rain in front of the Albrights' property, as well as their neighbor's property. This would not last longer than generally 12 to 24 hours, and it would dissipate. But this would reduce the problem that they had where it washed their door walls out and other damage to their properties. I think you've all read the explanation. So there would be ponding along West River Road, and then it would flow through the existing 12-inch culvert. And the only difference in this project really is that we would not do the expensive, the $40,000 crossing of West River Road. We've met with Mr. Albright, and we're going to have to meet with his neighbor, but I think this is the best solution we're going to get to solve the problem. And it would be my feeling that we would authorize the engineer to take bids and proceed with we need a permit from the county, request the permit, and also we're going to have to get as Sohaila recommended, that we would receive from the Albrights and their neighbor a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the township based on this proposal. So there'd be clear understanding that water would pond following storms in the front property. But we reviewed it, and it doesn't appear to do anything but just sit there, and it would dissipate. So I'm open to questions.
Bill, just a couple of clarifications. So it's going to run down the south side of Loma,
yes,
through the new 24-inch storm sewer. At the end, it'll come out at the existing, and then it says here traveling north to the culvert in Mr. Albright's property. Isn't he south of Loma?
Yes.
So I
travel south. You're right.
So it's going to, okay, that's supposed to be south.
Yeah,
okay.
You're right.
Because I was trying to picture that.
I didn't pick that up. It is south. So this cuts the cost from $83,000 to $43,000, the estimated cost.
Bill, just a question. Have we formally, in writing, requested Wayne County to address this issue?
We have not. The Albrights have, and they've been denied.
I mean, have we as a township? Obviously, we're about to spend some township money here.
We have. We haven't done it in writing. I've personally been to two meetings, one on the site and another one in this office with the county present to talk about this project. Mm-hmm. And that was before the design scheme was developed. And so then after the design scheme, they were listening at the meetings and indicating that they might be able to cooperate in some fashion when we took the design scheme back to them, they said, we just can't participate. We don't have the funding, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the equipment that we can, our budgets have been cut back, so they've essentially said, outside of possibly doing some clearing and grubbing, they're not going to, they are unwilling to do anything.
All right. I guess I would make a suggestion to this commission that a formal request in writing be made to the county to address this issue. And if they don't, we'll proceed with what we plan on doing. I'm not sure that this is the ultimate fix here. It's probably going to help a great deal. And when we complete that, I would suggest that the township bill Wayne County for the work we performed. Now, I have no anticipation that Wayne County is going to pay that. But the next discussion that we have with Wayne County over who pays for what, they're going to have some outstanding invoices and outstanding balances to the township that we can use at least a negotiation point going forward. And if we don't put all this in writing,
Okay.
we're never going to get addressed by it.
I'll do it over my signature.
I would think
Copy the
a formal letter requesting that they address this issue.
I will do that.
And then when we finish it, whatever cost we get involved, we submit the bill to Wayne County saying, we did your work. This is the work that you were responsible for. We did this work. We expect to be paid for this.
Fine.
Ted, I think it's a very good idea, and I think it lays some groundwork for future discussions with them. The only thing I would be careful about is making sure that this doesn't unduly delay the repairs that the Albrights have been waiting for so long.
Well, we're giving them a deadline. Fix it by the date we're going to start this project, or we're going to move forward.
So we can set the date we're starting the project and then tell them that we've got to be back to us the day before that or something like that.
They're not going to get back to us. They're going to ignore the letter.
Yeah,
they will.
Yeah. So,
but you have some.
But we need to get this kind of stuff in writing, and Linda and I have had this discussion. Anything that we do on Wayne County property, whether it be roads or whatever, we need to start submitting invoices to Wayne County, because at some point in time, there will be negotiations, whether it be by the board or whether it be by legal matters. And it's always nice to have all this in writing. We told you to do it. This was a problem. We addressed the problem on your drain, or we addressed the problem on your road, and we expect to be reimbursed for that, whether it be in services, goods, or whatever.
well, I think it's a great idea, so I like it.
Okay.
Do you have comments?
That's why we pay the big bucks.
Yeah, right.
So, what I would entertain, since we need to get pricing, I would entertain that we authorize the engineer to go out for bids, finish the design, go out for bids, and I, along with staff and the engineers, will sit down with the Albrights, their neighbors, and prepare an appropriate agreement, whole harmless agreement. Can we have that in a motion?
So moved.
Been moved and supported that we proceed. You got the notes on what we're doing? There's 3 elements to it. Authorize the design, go out for bids, and prepare the whole harmless agreements and sit down with the property owners. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Do you want to put Ted's?
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, my only question was, what the Albrights thought about it.
You have to come up to the podium, Mr. Albright.
No, actually, we don't have any questions, Bill, and Sahil came out, had a meeting with me, we talked about the updated plan. I think it's what should have been on Loma Circle originally. What happens once it hits West River, we've got a culvert under our front yard. There's a 12-inch storm where the water's supposed to be going. So, sounds great to us. Appreciate it.
Okay, great. My thought is that by the time we go out for bids, get the design done in bids, it'll probably come back to us at our September meeting, and we'd be ready to recommend to the board award a contract so we built this fall, and that way everybody would be able to enjoy the trees. And I want to make sure we preserve the trees as you go up Loma Circle as much as we can on the south side, because it's very pretty through there. Sure. And this preserves, all the good trees are going to be saved. I discussed that, we walked that project. Oh, you were there. So we walked that project. So at any rate, that's kind of the schedule. So we'll get it done this fall so that when next spring, when the rains come, you should be protected from the damage you had before.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Keep in touch.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Next item is we have a visitor, Deborah Holsworth from Hickory Island. You're welcome to come up to the podium and approach the board.
Thank you. I'm Deborah Holsworth. I'm representing Homarden Park Association as their current president. I'd like to ask the commission if they could schedule us in the near future for water line replacement. We know that Hickory Island Company had done theirs several years ago now. And what we've done is hired Todd Stanley to go through the easements and mark them so all of our residents understand where the road easement is, where the existing water line has been marked, and where the existing sewer line is, so that all of our association members understand what we need to do for easement for a water line, a new water line that would be put in, hopefully. We haven't had any problems. I probably have jinxed myself now. But we just wanted to let you know that we are trying to be proactive. We're a homeowners association, so that if the water line is replaced, our road will be probably annihilated. And so we've raised our fees for our association to try to cover the road so that we wouldn't have a huge assessment when the time does come. So that's why I'm here tonight, is to ask this commission if they would please put us on the schedule for a new water line replacement. Thank you.
Okay, before you leave the podium, we'll open it up to questions. Everybody know where we're talking about?
I just have a
As you go over the
comment.
Hickory Island Bridge?
Thank you.
Not
I
big.
mean, we wanted to do this big time when we did the other half.
I'm aware of it.
And we needed the loop. We really needed to complete that project. And it was unfortunate it couldn't be done at that time, but I think it's a step forward. I don't think this board will have any problem moving forward with that water main, because that gives us the size loop that we need in that area.
Okay, so do you have all of Ms. Holzman's information?
Yes, I do.
Contact information? Because I think we're going to probably want to talk with you as we go forward. If you, in the best of all worlds, when would you like to see this done? I mean, next year?
No.
2016?
That would be great.
So
Not
you're
next year, but...
You're really out in front on this issue.
Well, we just wanted to show the board that we are serious and that we're trying to do our homework and be proactive to help ourselves as well as the township.
Now, the road in question, as you go over the bridge, you can either go left or straight.
We're the
or
straight,
right.
Bayview
You're the
Drive.
straight.
Okay.
And there's several traffic calming or humps in the road.
Quieting, speed mountains.
So how's your road holding up? I haven't been there in a while.
This winter, it took a little bit of a hit, but we should be fine for a couple of years.
And that is a private road, am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, as long as we've got your information, we'll start to explore it, and we'll keep in touch on this issue.
Thank you very
So
much.
for the record, you not any sooner than 2016.
Please,
That's what you're talking about. And if it was 2017, that'd be all right?
that'd be just fine, too.
Okay. And you haven't had any water problems?
Very minimal.
So is that a 4-inch main out there?
No, it's an 8-inch.
It is less than 8-inch?
Yes.
How old would you estimate that main to be?
Was put in the 30s.
Oh, it's quite old. It's older than most of
Yeah,
us.
so I probably jinxed myself here.
That's
No.
It's awful nice you come to us with a smile on your face and not want to get done yesterday. Thank you very much for being so upfront. That's cool.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you all very much for your time and putting me ahead.
You're welcome to stay. Mrs. Krosky, do you have anything you want to ask us about? Oh, the status of your project? Okay. Lorinda, can you... This is the other drainage problem between Lone Circle and on the Pilski's property?
In
Yes.
Holtzman property? Oh, they've already started the project out there, so between Loma Circle, you're on the Loma Circle side, right? In Hawthorne? Yeah. They've already been out there. I can hear it humming. They're out there, RVP was already out there, and they're already starting the project. I met with the inspector this morning, and he's been out there working with them, so.
So in other words,
It's going, you can't see it from the road, so, but they're out there working. They've already started.
The only thing I've seen so far is little markings.
You've seen the markings on the road?
No, it's not markings on the property.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I can give a better update. You know, I can contact her tomorrow if you want.
How would that be? I mean, the first thing they have to do is clean out and grub the trees.
Yeah, they got to grub out the
Line.
trees. Yeah, so RVP.
You
That's
would
what
have
Bill
heard
gave me
that,
an update,
I'm
said
sure.
they were already out there working, so.
I'm sure that you would have heard that.
I thought, yeah, because I know I know Bill was over there today, so, but I didn't see RVP because they're behind. You can't see them from the road, so.
Well, they're accessing it from Hawthorne Glen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep, from the Hawthorne Glen side.
why don't you're welcome to stay for our meeting, and before you leave, make sure Loretta's got your phone number. Okay? Thank you. All right, so then, Joe, we're going to come to you later. Okay, manager's report. We'll get back to item number 10.
Okay.
Brenda?
Where am I? Okay. The current project status on the Park Lane water main is, it's completed, except for the restoration. There's a couple of piles of dirt and stone that are still out there. They've got the barrels around them on Park Lane that'll be removed soon. Balmoral and Lakewood, they finished. I was by there today. Restoration is complete. And Martin Lane, they will be doing the concrete work starting tomorrow.
So on the Park Lane, the whole line has been inspected and is in service?
It's in service.
Okay. Very good. Any questions about the water main project?
I would like to see him take a fire flow test. Charlie Raines' company take a fire flow test on that hydrant on Park Lane now, and let's see what the improvement is.
Fire flow testing, okay.
Okay, so you're talking about at Horse Mill,
On
Park Lane?
Park Lane and Wood Drive.
And
Park, there's a hydrant there?
That was the worst spot on Grosse Hill when they gave us that report in December. I'd like to see what it is now with the new tie-in.
All right, so we'll get a report back on that. So that's at Wood Drive and Park Lane. We'll make that an agenda item. Okay, update on our concrete road repairs.
GV Cement will be starting the rest of the concrete repairs after they finish Martin Lane. Will be after this week, so they're already out there. They've got some of their equipment on site on Martin Lane.
Well, Martin Lane's right off of Manchester, so we
Yep.
have several big repairs on Manchester. Did we get the permit from the county?
So Hal said it'll be end of this week.
We've had a permit request in how long?
Long time. Forever.
This is to repair the county roads.
Yeah, they had some questions on some of the details, and so they had to resubmit some information, so I think that's all been cleared up.
Okay. Any questions on the concrete repair? Discussion items, chip seal information, page 27 through 39. All right, so what you have, and you were given this so that you can make any suggestions or edit. We had talked about at our last meeting for our next meeting, which is August 12th, hosting a public information meeting to kick off the meeting invite all the residents and property owners in on the streets, the 4 road segments where we're going to do a chip seal program at the end of August. And so what you have in the packet here is a proposed draft of an invite, and we're open to your suggestions and comments on it. This really didn't come out very dark when we copied it, so I'm assuming that it'll come out a little better when we run the copies to be distributed. And then there's a fact sheet from the Ohio Department of Transportation that was prepared for citizens. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that. And then the cover of the sheet from Monroe County, where they send it out to their residents explaining the chip seal process. Then there's also a copy on page 30 of the Ohio Department brochure that was the way we received it. In other words, on pages 28, we blew it up. Maybe that's why we lost some of the color.
Yeah.
And then there's a map showing the areas to be done that would probably get mailed out to the people. And then there are several pages 32 through 39, that list all the property owners in different segments of roads that would be notified. Now, the issue I have is there's, how many, Lorinda,
177.
177 people that would receive the letter. This chamber holds
About 80.
80 people. Does that include the podium or
No.
out in the audience?
Yeah.
That's almost 50%. I mean, we could accommodate 50% if we had that kind of turnout. Now, everybody will tell you that when you have a road meeting like this, you get 30-40% of the people show up. Maybe. So I guess the question is, can we hold it here? It would be simpler to do it here. Put on an information program. And I'd prefer to do that than to try to go to one of the schools or something. I don't think we're going to have that big a crowd. But what's your judgment?
Well, I think this room, based on just the past experience with these types of things, where you expect the crowd, this room should be large enough. If we're going to be taking this information and just explaining it to them, if in fact there were too many people, we could go to the conference rooms and one of us can go with them and do the same basic presentation to that group. I mean, you kind of would love to see that situation where there's an overflow crowd and we have to do it. I don't think there will be. I think this should be plenty.
Okay, so what I'm going to propose is that, and I'm open, the letter on page 27 that says you're invited to a public information meeting to explain the chip sealing for your road. Tuesday, August 12th at 7 o'clock, Rose Hill Township Hall, boardroom. And you all had a chance to read that letter, inviting people. Any suggestions and word changes from the commission?
One comment, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, on the second paragraph. I think improved should just read improved.
Yeah, you're right. I caught that as well, so thank you. That's good.
Other than that, I think it's fine.
Okay. Any other comments? So what we're going to mail out to everybody is be 2 sheets of paper. One will be the You're Invited cover letter with the map copied on the back of that in color, and then the fact sheet from the Ohio Department of Transportation and Monroe County on another sheet of paper. That'll be it. That's what everybody will get. And we will develop the presentation for everybody. And my thought is that we'll have people sign in, and what I've been involved with before when we've done these kind of things, the people that don't show up will just mail them a letter saying that we had this hearing, and one of the things we're going to hand out is we'll have more information from the contractor by that date, when he expects to start, what his contact information, or at least what our contact information will be for complaints. That's the biggest issue we're going to have to cover. So who they call when they got a complaint about something. So we're going to talk about what to expect when construction takes place, when they can drive on the road, when they can't, and when it'll be striped, and just we'll have a handout that'll give them all the steps that are going to take place. Okay? Does that sound all right to everybody? I'm glad everybody's showing all this enthusiasm.
I thought the letter was very well worded, and I'm glad to see that we're doing this. Any idea on when this project may begin? I know he said late August, but I don't know.
Well, he said
He said mid-August.
Yeah.
Mid-August,
I had in my head
later.
that he said September.
No, to be finished by Labor Day, he said.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's not what I-
He was hopeful that he could start mid-August, but even if he started a little later,
Depends
it'd
on the
still be
weather.
done, he
All
said.
right, so we'll know more by the time of this meeting. We'll talk to him and get some more information. So, all right, very good. So that, what I need then is just a motion to authorize us to proceed with the packet, the mailing, and the setting of the date for August 12th.
So moved.
Why do you need a motion? It's a discussion item.
All right, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
we
It
just-
seems
yeah.
like we ought to do it that way.
I mean, it's fine.
We ought to move
Yeah.
forward with making arrangements for the information meeting. I'd like a motion.
Move.
Support.
All right, move and support that we proceed as outlined with the chip seal information meeting for August 12th and the information to be distributed to the public. Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll proceed on that basis. We've already dealt with action item number 12.1. Action item number 2, wastewater treatment plant, our annual allowance for operating and maintenance fixes, request for additional funding. So with that, I'm going to let Joe Keefe make the presentation. This is your baby, Joe.
Okay,
Well, should we have a motion first? Or maybe just let Joe make the presentation?
Well, yeah,
Should have a motion.
you probably should do the motion
Yeah,
first and
and then
support and then the history.
So the motion would be to authorize a not-to-exceed amount of $10,000 for operation and maintenance for the wastewater treatment plant facilities for the remaining period, June through September, which is the contract year for your companies operating the wastewater plant, and to authorize reimbursement for the additional routine operation and maintenance expenditures that might occur during that period of time.
Support.
Moved and supported. Okay, we're going to open it to discussion. You're going to do a presentation first.
Okay.
We have the contract language in here, and under the contract, we budget annually $40,000 for routine maintenance items. And Joe, you have several pages here listed of the things that
Yeah, well,
you've done. Why don't you go through those?
the one was, we got hit with several large, $1,200 here, $1,700 there, quite a few, you take quite a few of those on top of just like buying, a barrel of oil, which is $950. It adds up pretty quickly. But we are 3/4 of the way through the contract year, and we've exceeded the maintenance budget as of the end of June by $609. So just looking forward, $10,000 was my best estimate of what we would, with regular costs that we, expect to see, a surprise here and there, where we got to bring in like the instrument tech company. If we got to bring those guys in, it's $600-700 on a cheap day if they're there for a half day. And so we've had a few of those issues with those guys lately. So that's all it was just to keep things rolling smoothly. These expenses that are in the letter. These are detailed in the monthly report that Jim gets, and Bill and Lorinda, and if anybody else wanted one of these, I can also email these reports to you, but this is detailed every month, everything that we spend on maintenance. And this just summarizes what we've spent so far this year through May. So that's what I got.
Yeah, well, we have the details in front of us, so I recall, Ted, you can remind me if I'm right, that we've done this once before in my tenure serving on this commission. But if nobody else has questions, I do have some.
Yes.
So I'd like to go back through. So for each month, the public's watching here, so I just want to make sure we talk a little bit about this. You have a report for each month of the maintenance type items where your company incurred costs on our behalf.
Correct.
And for the month of October, the contract year begins October 1st. Yes. You had $5,000 worth of expenses. Two large items One was $907 to troubleshoot, work around the raw sewage pumps, 3 and 4. The controllers failed.
Yes.
All right, another one was you had to purchase an 800-pound electric chain hoist.
Yes, that's what we use to pull the lift pumps out of the lift station or any other heavy lifting.
What happened to the other chain?
The other one was 15 years old, and the cords were falling out of it, and it basically died.
You had to replace instruments for the trip relay and the raw sewage pump?
That was, the $900 was actually the instrument tech's work, and the trip relay was what we purchased that had to be replaced.
In November, you had $2,000 for our annual jet cleaning of the lift station wet wells.
Correct.
And again, some SCADA issues, which is, SCADA is really the alarm systems. Something fails, alarms go off.
SCADA at this plant is mainly, it deals with the retention basin. That's the only thing that we have SCADA on.
So you had Newport Electric supply and replace emergency lights in the primary room,
Yes.
the RBC room and garage. What happened there?
Just, they failed.
They wouldn't operate anymore?
Pardon me?
They wouldn't operate anymore?
Right. And some of them were, 30 years old, 34 years old. But yeah, the fire department comes through and inspects every year, and they're pretty hot on that we have.
All right, so that's in the RBC room, but in the lower level, where the primary treatment comes in, the plant, we talked about lighting there. Where's that?
That lighting is drawings were being done. An engineer was in a couple weeks ago taking pictures and measurements to do drawings, because apparently the old drawings don't match up exactly with what we have there. And that was the last I heard of it, but it is moving forward.
You had a $1,700 item to complete brake repairs to the truck.
Yeah. The brake lines.
What truck is this?
The pickup truck that we use to haul the generators around and equipment and maintenance to the lift station, so on and so forth.
Okay, December was kind of a low-cost month. January, same low-cost month, spent $3,700. Again, had meter calibration problems, $1,300. Are we having problems with our SCADA operator? I mean, it seems like SCADA's in there every month.
No, it's also disparate, and there was some issues with the PLC. That's why, UIS SCADA, that's the name of the company.
Right.
That's the instrumentation. Yeah, we were having, still ongoing, problems with the programmable logic controller for the raw sewage pumps. The input and output modules have been taking turns failing, just dying. And when the thing faults, you have to bring them in because it's got to be reprogrammed from a computer.
Okay, I see in January you also purchased that oil you spoke about, which cost $913. That's, how often do you have to buy oil?
We probably budget $7,000 a year for oil. We buy oil probably 7 55-gallon drums a year.
So that $900 wasn't unusual.
No.
Just scanning things again. April wasn't bad, but the month of May, you spent $8,000. And again, Vesco Oil accounted for $3,000.
Yes.
Well, maybe that's the one you were talking about. We also had the software issue, again, was UIS SCADA.
Yeah, that was probably the input module failing that time.
No, it was the Office replacement computer.
Okay. That was to reprogram, or not reprogram, but reinstall the Wonderware software that operates the SCADA for the retention basin on the 2 computers that failed. So one was a replacement computer, and the other one I was able to salvage by replacing the hard drive on it. But the software installation is a pretty complex thing for that.
I see you had to rewind the motor, replace seals and bearings on a 2.3 horsepower pump.
That's a lift station pump from Swan Island.
That was $2,000.
Yeah.
Well, you've outlined, pretty much how you've spent the money, and I appreciate that. I just thought we should have some discussion about it. Les? Any questions?
No.
Bill?
No. Just a quick question. Do we anticipate increasing our $40,000 to something higher on an annual budget basis?
I think, this contract actually ends September 30th, and we've probably got to start this discussion real soon on how we want to proceed. But yes, that would be something that we should look at.
Is this the end of your 5-year or 3-year?
3-year.
3-year. I would say we're a little remiss in not having already started that discussion.
Lot going on.
If we're going to go out for bids or if we're going to shop, it'll get really tight because it's in July already. So.
Well, we can also run, I'm guessing we'd be willing to do, month.
We've done that.
Yeah.
We've done that in the past.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get our contract year realigning with the township fiscal year again. Because the last contract dragged out so long to get settled. That's how we ended up with the October 1st start date. But previous to that, for the 20-some years we've been here, we've always been on the fiscal year of the township.
Well, as I recall, when we went through this 3 years ago, we appointed, I think you were chairman, Ted, if I remember right. At least, I don't know how long I've been chairman. But
no, you were chairman.
I was chairman. We appointed a special committee.
We did.
John, I think you were on that committee.
That's probably John and Ted and Barry.
Bob Buckley.
And Bob Buckley. Well,
Frank tomorrow.
No, not Frank.
That seems a couple of contracts ago.
You're dating yourself, John.
No. That was what happened. Was we found out that there actually was no contract for a period of time, and then one of your, and I recognize you're only the messenger, but one of your acquiring companies came in and they explained to us that there had to be some revisions to what otherwise was a fairly simple, straightforward contract. So I asked the man to highlight the changes, and he explained it was because of September 11th. It really didn't make sense to me. And you hear that a lot, gas is going up. Yeah. So what we did is, when we got the proposed contract, and you're only the messenger, you weren't one of these guys that was authoring the documents, it was so onerous and one-sided that it really wasn't acceptable to the township,
right,
in the township's best interest. So eventually, that problem was solved with 2 additional sentences to a contract that was drafted
96.
many years ago. 86.
96, I think.
Well, Misco drafted it and kept going forward. Yeah, so it worked out. But that was the stumbling block because it wasn't you.
No, it was
about 2 acquiring companies ago.
They lawyered out.
That's what it was. And it was.
Yeah.
It was what it.
It's all pretty
looked like
legally. There's
very
lawyers all over the place now.
Inextricably intertwined with everything's the township's fault. So that got worked out. That's the reason why things got dragged out. And at that juncture, Buckley and Damar were involved in that. And then Frank moved, and Bob was on the commission for a long time.
Right.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Bob was on the commission in 1984 when I first got on the commission.
Bob used to come to the plant. and visit.
Oh, yeah.
On a regular basis.
Well,
When I first
Ron
started
and
there.
Jim do that now.
Well, Jim, almost, a little bit.
It kind of dovetailed in with Bob's activity at
Right.
DPA, which
At
is
that
right
time.
here at the airport. So there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
So Buckley, pre-84, and I'm 84, and there's nobody here that's 84 in this room, but I'm 84, and Buckley was before that. So Buckley might have been on the commission for 30 years.
Yeah.
All right, well, so let's deal with this first issue, and then I want to add to this that we need to appoint a committee to begin to look at where we are with the contract and sit down and look at whether we're going to go out for bids or renewing it or discuss contract language. So first item is we have a motion on the floor. Are there any further questions about the recommendation to increase the budget up to $10,000 for the remaining of the contract year? If there aren't any, the motion was to approve the $10,000 request. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So we've accomplished that.
Yep.
You say the contract, and I don't have it with me, Lorinda, or expires on
September 30th.
Here it is.
So we need to appoint a committee to begin to look at the contract and to sit down. I expect we need a letter from your company outlining what their position is, and we have to discuss what we should do. So I'd like to see if there are 3 members of the commission that would volunteer to be on the committee.
I would volunteer.
Jim Bundy would volunteer.
And my buddy, I'm sorry.
Jim Nelson volunteers.
Or funding goes Nelson.
This side of the table.
And then I'll do it. Keep the old documents. Let's use the old language because that's really the
Well, that's what we want to,
You'll do it, John?
just keep the old documents, and we can slight modifications might be possible if necessary, only if necessary. Then the other thing is you've always been fair. So I know when we took over the sewer treatment plant, we were paying Wayne County $1 million a year to operate the treatment plant. And when the township took it over, there was an unbelievable substantial reduction.
like half.
Even less than half. It was less than half at that point. So, and you're very familiar with the plant. What I like about you, Joe, is you know that plant. It's not like other plants, so you really know that plant. So it's a benefit to the township to have you because you've lived with that plant. You're a lot older looking now than when you first came to work.
Thanks for that
plant.
Those fumes light.
Corroding all of the elevator trips.
I don't have anything else to say, Joe.
Okay. All right.
So you're agreeing, John? All right, so John, you're the vice chair. Will you chair the subcommittee? So we're going to appoint a subcommittee to work on the wastewater treatment plant contract renewal issue, to look at bidding, but to look at extending the contract. And also, at the same time we're doing that, I'd like to get an update from the committee as to where we are with all of the improvements that we've talked about that aren't even completed.
Okay.
Some HVAC things and things. So I'd like an update on that. When that comes back, we need. I know we're fixing the elevator. I know we've got proposals out for the lighting, but the HVAC equipment has still not been addressed fully, as far as I recall.
Fully it hasn't, but the big items have been.
I'd like the committee to discuss all those issues with you as well.
Okay.
So the committee would consist of John Riley as chairman of the wastewater treatment plant committee, Jim Budney and Jim Nelson.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got your number. I'll give you a call.
Okay.
And we'll try something. Because my superior was calling me today saying he was going to try to be here tonight. Actually, couldn't make it, but he wants to get the ball rolling too. On
So
this.
where does your superior work out of? Grand
He
Rapids?
lives in Chicago, but he's right now working out of Portage, south of Kalamazoo. So,
Okay.
all right.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda is consideration of long-term road and water main capital improvement report. Well, you have a blank page in your packet. So we're working on a report that'll pull together everything we've talked about over the last 6 months. So we're just not done. I'm going to hope that the report is done by our August meeting, okay? So that you can look at a draft of it, and then we can send it and decide how we're going to deal with it. Fact is, what I was thinking to the commission, I was thinking that if we have the report in our hand and we have a big audience that night, people interested in the chip seal, we can discuss with them what we're talking about. If the chip seal is a pilot program, and maybe distribute some maps and say, here's what we're doing. But one thing I encountered, that Lorinda's going to give you a handout before she gives it out. When I got to the water part of the report, the road part we've already outlined pretty much, and if you recall for the water main portion of it, we talked about replacing major water mains to finish looping the system. Replacing the 6-inch water main on East River Road for almost 2 miles, and almost 2 miles or a mile and a half of replacement on West River Road, same thing. And if you recall, Barry Sedlak, a couple of years ago, came to us and said that we should consider replacing the whole 16-inch main coming up through the middle of the island on Meridian, based on the number of water main breaks. So in 2012, and I don't know if Les, you were on the commission when this, and Phil, you were, I think, in 2012, we got this water report, master plan water report. Ron, you were not. You were.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we got that in November.
So I started, and you're all going to get copies of this, and actually, you can pass it out now, Lorinda, if you want. And there's several pages color-coded where the water mains throughout the island are shown in different colors based on size, based on condition, and based on water pressure flows for both service, normal service, and for fire flow. So as I started looking at it, what struck me, and at the end there's a list of projects proposed, there was no mention of the water main on Meridian. Now that water main on Meridian, along with some sections of it extending on Byromeyer and a couple other small streets, was a $4 million project. So there's no mention of it in here, so I talked to our engineers, and so he all said, well, Barry felt that in his mind, that if we were to replace the main based on the number of water main breaks on Meridian that have occurred over the years, that we'd have enough pressure that by looping East River and the one on West River, we could solve most of our problems. I looked at the water main break map, and it didn't seem to me there were too many more water main breaks on Meridian than any other street, if you break it down by mile sections. And so I asked for a special meeting to review this whole situation on the water main. I'm still thinking we would maybe, if you read this report, we were talking about $9 million worth of water main projects. It's a lot of money. But I'm wondering if the Meridian main is the right way to go, or if we should follow this report and replace a lot of mains scattered throughout the entire township, south end, north end, in the middle, keeping in mind we want to loop the system on East and West River. I mean, I just don't know at this point. And what I want to ask all of you to do is read this, because we're going to come back to you on this. And we've set up a special meeting for those of you that can make it. I'm going to be meeting with the township engineers that did the reports, Ohio and Kevin Cook, as well as Ted, who's been around a long time. And Les, you're welcome to attend if you can make it. We've set up a special meeting for Wednesday the 16th in the conference room downstairs at 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to come to that meeting, you're welcome to. No, a week from tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. We plugged in an hour and a half. But don't come if you haven't read this report. read the report. It would make more sense to you what's going on. Now, this report is a water reliability study. And what they do is they test water pressures throughout the system by pressurizing segments between hydrants and between shutoff valves to see where we've got constant pressure or where we have pressure problems. Some of our water main system is 70 years old. Every year we're hitting at 30 plus water main breaks a year over the last 10 years. So that means 3 water main breaks a month we're experiencing. Most of them in the wintertime, but that's the average for the year. A lot of our water lines are calcified inside where the minerals build up, and the 6-inch main is now really reduced to 3.5-inch capacity and so forth. So I think we need to, if we're going to spend money, go to the voters and say, we're going to do roads, but before we fix your roads, we want to replace the water main. If that's our long-term idea, we need to pick out the right strategy. And that's my only question. So, but basically where I'm at is Meridian doesn't show up on here as needing to be replaced. It's a 16-inch main that runs, so theoretically it should have the capacity. And I talked to Lorinda about this. There's a section near Grow, and that's why your input would be valuable. There's a section over north of Horsemill. Looks like there's a concentration of breaks in those 2 areas.
But
well, maybe we got to replace a segment.
That's not on the 16-inch main. Those breaks are on the other mains that's there, the 8-inch and the 6-inch.
Well, that's valuable input.
That's when...
Can you make that meeting?
You're talking about a whole bunch of stuff.
Can you make that meeting next Wednesday morning? 16th at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can.
Lorinda will send a notice out to everybody tomorrow morning, and we'll have to post it as well. And everybody. So this is what I run into, and I want to do the right thing. So it's important we revisit this and come back. That's where I'm at.
And Bill, one other thing. When this was presented to us by the engineers, they specifically indicated that some of this information that's found in this report was information they garnered from Wayne County, not from our guys out here. So I think that should be kept in mind when we look at this.
Okay, John, I don't remember that, but what the basis of the report is, the pressure testing.
No, but I remember specifically that was mentioned by Ohio, and when it came to water pressures, the other thing he indicated, there was no agency anywhere that was complaining about the amount of pressure that's delivered to our system. So this was a suggestion, and practically speaking, I think you have some great ideas, but if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. So I would want all new roads out here, all new water main, and probably some intersections fixed, but that's a wish.
Sure. Well, we're talking about a long-term plan for both capital improvements on our road system and water main. We're going to have one shot at it. And if we go to the voters and they approve something fairly substantial for us, that's probably what we're going to do for a number of years. Ted, you have some comments?
I do. I think if we're going to have this meeting, we need to incorporate with that what our current bonding obligation is and how that retires. Because as a resident and a taxpayer of this island, I'm not sure, even though the necessity is there for roads, the necessity is there for water, pick one that's most important to you. But we need to maintain the fact that we've got to keep it to a point where we can afford to drink the water and use the water, as well as drive on the roads. We just can't keep asking for more and asking for more. The schools are going to come at us asking for more. So all this needs to be tied into a long-term plan. You got a great idea there. But this long-term plan has to take a good look at what our bonding obligation is, and as that drops off, is it possible for us to even wait for some of that to drop off? It's the same issue we're dealing with the sewer project. They're asking for us to spend another $8 or $10 million, and we're asking them to go away until we get this bond issue down to where we can afford the additional burden on a taxpayer and a ratepayer. I mean, my favorite analogy is I don't want to have to go to the marathon station to use the bathroom because I can't afford to flush my toilet. And we need to know what those numbers are. And I agree that if we don't stay on top of it, which probably because of the federal government requirements on our sewer project, we have been remiss because the funds just weren't there. I mean, we were forced into that $50 million project. And I just think it's most important, if we're going to have this meeting, let's take a look at what we have, when it expires, at least to maintain what we have as far as expenses go going forward. I just don't know how much bigger burden you can put on the public.
Well, that's fine. We've been talking about this for 2 years now. We've delayed water main improvements for more than that.
Right.
And for the same reason you're outlining, we know already we don't get any relief with our debt burden until 2024, based on the charts we've seen in the past. Our roads are going to hell, and they're very bad. It's not a pleasure to drive our roads. The community is in bad shape as far as roads are concerned. We've been talking about a long-term road program, trying to leverage county federal aid and so forth for at least East River and Meridian fixes. And we don't want to fix roads where we got bad water main. And so we put off a lot of stuff. I understand what you're saying. I'm talking about a water main program that would be voted on and general obligation bonds. That's what I'm talking about.
Sure. Not
going after water rates. Riverview just put on the ballot and approved 3 mills for road improvements for 10 years. The program we've been talking about is just based on our outline was about $18 million. $9 million for roads, $9 million for water main. And based on the computations, the preliminary stuff we had, and you're going to get this report in August, it looked like we were talking about slightly less than 3 mills. I mean, you're not going to have a quality community and be able to drive good roads if you aren't willing to pay for it. That's the bottom line. Meridian's a mess. East River's a mess. You know that. We're talking about chip sealing. We're talking about improving 20 miles of roads, our major roads network on this island, so you can drive anywhere, whether it's to the high school. That's what we've been talking about, Ted. So I'm going to still bring that back to you. We have the meeting. We can still talk about what we need to do as far as the water. I mean, I just don't want to. I want to be careful that, in my mind, I'm working towards a major request to the voters to make an investment in our community. And right now, I'm not proud to come here. Our property values are going to be affected sooner or later.
Sure. Already are.
And when we have water main breaks, they bring in an 8-inch main, and half of it, we should have one in this room all the time. Half of it, and you've seen them, the calcium buildup on the inside over 70 years, that 8-inch pipe is now a 4-inch pipe. You've seen them, Les. So that's because of the mineral buildup on the pipe. And it's amazing to see that. So we've got to make some fixes, as you know. And so that's what we're talking about. So, okay, so we'll keep the
24 number that you've got for the bond issue, for the bond reduction issue, is the $50 million sewer bond, primarily. There are other bonds that are going to drop off.
A little bit, but the major drop is the sewer bond in 2024, where we might save $1 million in bond expenses a year. I don't know the figure, but it's a substantial drop at that point. But I don't think our road system can wait that long before we do something.
Bill, you mentioned this line pipeline that's half filled up with calcium. Is it possible we have a piece of that in here for that August 12th meeting, remembering that the chip sealing on these roads this year is in kind of...
Sure, that's great.
Do we have that?
I have to look to see if we still have it.
We'll find one.
Oh, yeah.
I think you got one in the office, though.
Yeah, I think we had him in the office. You probably cleaned up the office. Got rid of him.
I think it's still down there.
Yeah, we'll bring the
I
pipe
think I
up so
just
people
shoved it
can see the pipe. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we need to do whatever we can to prep them up for the idea that this is, stuff in the preliminary with other long-term objectives, if we can do that. And pay attention to how this chip sealing works for next year.
Well, the only reason I say what I see going on, and if you read about it, the Detroit News and Free Press are filled this spring with articles about roads. And the state legislature adjourned, as we all know, and didn't do anything about the roads. It's an election year. But Troy this year is spending $14 million on road fixes. No major road improvements, just fixing concrete roads. Southfield's looking at a several mill proposition. Farmington Hills is looking at a dedicated mill proposition. I mean, the communities have decided that the funding's just not there. The gas tax revenues are declining. We all know that. And so the communities are starting to take initiatives. And I'm aware of that in Little Raisin Township out in Lenawee County and in Monroe County and in Chesaning and Saginaw County. All these little towns are saying, we got to do something about our roads. There's not enough money to fix them. So they're all looking at going to the voters. If we, my feeling is we can ask the voters. If they say no, then we've tried.
It's true.
So anyway, all we can do is be honest with people.
Very true.
West River Road is fine by your place at Loma Circle, but the rest of it's not. And we got to do something with it. I mean, can we let it go for 20 more years and not do anything with it? It's dangerous. You can't safely ride a bike, or it's hard to walk. You couldn't walk at night on it because the pavement's in such bad shape. You could twist your ankle or whatever. So, and East River out going to Hickory Island needs to be addressed. I mean, it needs to be resurfaced at some point. It's not that bad yet, but there are sections of East River that are terrible. So, at any rate, I said my speech. And I appreciate your comments as well. So, okay. So that's my story on the water main stuff. We have a meeting set. Now you know what that's all about. Okay? We're not done. An item to be added to the agenda for discussion is in your packet on, I guess it's not numbered in the back. We have an announcement from the Ficano administration. Does everybody see it?
Yeah.
So what the announcement is that Wayne County is making a road funding proposal out of the blue. Mr. Ficano has announced that Wayne County's 9 townships are eligible to participate in improving local roads. Now, local roads means, in their definition, anything zone residential, not the major roads. We're not talking about the major, what they call collector roads, like Grosse Hill Parkway is a collector road, East River is a collector road, Meridian's a collector road, West River is a collector road. We're talking about all the local neighborhood roads. And I hope included in that could be Grays Drive by the high school, Manchester, a few other selected roads. So anyway, what we're...
How about church?
Yeah.
Church probably would be too.
I mean, you put all the rest of those roads aside. Let's do something.
Well, so I guess that's a question that we're going to have to come up with an answer to, because what we have is $500,000 a year for 2 years that the county will reimburse us for. So in discussing this, it begins this fiscal year October 1st. So we couldn't use our chip seal for match. Our chip seal program will be over with. But all we have to come up with is we raise about $240,000 a year with our road maintenance money, so we can come up with $100,000 each of the 2 years to match the $500,000. So beginning October 1st, we're eligible to spend $500,000, and then October 1st of 2015, another $500,000. Our 20% match that's required is on top of that, not part of it, but on top of it. So it's really $600,000 worth of road improvements. The way the program would work is that we have to spend the money and then ask for our $500,000 to be reimbursed. And they say the money's going to be there. That's what they say. And our supervisor, Mr. Loftus, and Lorinda went to the meeting to hear the explanation. There's still a lot of questions. Like how long is it going to take to get reimbursed? My thought is we have drainage money. We'll get to this. We'll talk about it. But the good news is we're looking at $1 million over the next 2 years to do local road improvements. And we could throw it all on Church Road, or we could spread it around. We could fix on Manchester, the South Point area, the north section. What my proposal is that this commission schedule, I've got my calendar, in the next 3 weeks, that we schedule a study session like we do every April, and we drive the local roads. That we drive Potawatomi off Church Road, all those neighborhood roads, and make a decision, make a recommendation to the Township Board for more than $500,000 worth of road improvements for each of the 2 years, that we actually come back and prioritize it to them. How can we spread that money around? Because this other thing we've been working on is really to fix our primary system, our collector roads. The other thing is the long-term bond. We're looking at our secondary and primary roads, but this will focus on more of the neighborhood roads. And it does say in the letter that it's for roads in areas that are zoned residential. Almost the whole island is zoned residential in our case. So I guess the question is, what will we come up with as a recommendation? So I talked to Mr. Loftus about this, supervisor, and the next Monday night the Township Board's going to discuss this. What I suggested is that our commission would pick a date, and we'd go out and study it, make a recommendation to the Township Board, and get the Township Board's input as to what, if they have some priorities, and come up with a plan. Now, the deadline for submitting this is November 30th, but I think that the sooner you get your request in, the better. I think we should be submitting it by the end of October. So in other words, here it is, we would be into August, and let's say we do something in September. What we have to have submitted, it says townships will have until November 30th to submit proposals to the county. And what has to be submitted is a scope of the work to be done on the various roads, an engineer's estimate of cost, not a design, but a scope is really saying, here's what we're going to do to the road, and then an engineer's estimate of cost to do that, and a commitment from the Township Board that, yes, we have the money. So one of the things I thought about is we have this $1.2 million in the drain fund, that we could say that we could spend our $500,000 a year out of that, and hopefully we'd get reimbursed in a couple of months. So those are my comments on the program. You've got it in front of you. I know Ted wanted to speak on this issue. Ted?
I will strongly urge the Township Board to submit the application tomorrow to spend the money for these road improvements. If we can get a 20% match on roads, I certainly think we need to address a couple of the major failing roads on this island. But in any event, the application should be in. If they'd let us do it for 2 years, I'd do it for 2 years. I mean, this is free money. And we have a millage out there that we're drawing for roads. We can do a term payback utilizing that millage as a guarantee to pay back whatever we have to borrow from internally. I don't want to go outside and start bonding for it. And but I think we'd be really remiss if we didn't file it. If that application isn't already in ink, we would be remiss. We need to get that money from them and then try to pressure them to get it, of course. Of course, you got to remember that election's in November, so
that's a worry.
Which
it's a huge worry.
Brings me to my question: where did they mention at the meeting where the money was coming from? I mean, I just thought it was awful convenient that the election is in November, and but we have to have our things in November 30th after the election. Is that $14 million that they're pledging for these townships going to dry up by then? But it doesn't really matter. We got to get ours in and try and take advantage of it.
I agree.
Yeah, it's $7 million a year, and you're right. I mean, the county's going broke.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
the county doesn't have enough road money even to match the federal grant programs that are out there. Now all of a sudden they have $14 million.
And it just happens to be around election time. Did they say, Lorinda, at all? Did anybody ask where they got
Nobody
them?
asked, no.
Wow.
It's real money.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
It's just,
It's a miracle, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have something to work on, whatever. So I'm assuming that I know that Mr. Loftus was looking to us to drive the roads and come back with some recommendations. So I'd like to pick out a date that we can all work towards sometime towards the end of July. And anybody want to throw a date out? I was thinking maybe a late afternoon drive-through.
Oh, gosh.
Someday.
Oh, gosh, calendar. Don't we have the drawings and final work already prepared for the church? Isn't everything done?
No. We have to discuss whether we want to throw it all at church.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if we already, I thought this was already done.
He had the older drawings, but wasn't sure whether that would still suffice. There was some.
I mean, the question is, do you want to put it all on one road, or do you want to spread it around the island?
It's not up to me personally.
I know.
If it were up to me personally, I would pick the worst road on Grosse Ile and fix it.
Well, if it were up to me, I would pick several roads.
West River and Church.
And there was a question in Sohail's mind whether, since West River is categorized as a collector road, and whether church is defining that, I don't know. Whether they were eligible or not. Because when it was first told to Sohail, our engineer, by staff, they were saying neighborhood roads. Now, church is a neighborhood road.
The old formula used to be the circle and the cross. So, and Les has probably heard that forever. So the county would say East and West River Road, and the continuous circle is one thing, and the cross would be Meridian Road and Grosse Ile Parkway. So for many years, that's what they stood on from a policy. The circle and the cross were the county roads, and everything else was our problem.
All right, so throw out some dates. Looking at the week, I'm just going to pick a week here, unless anybody else wants to speak. How about the week of the 28th? 3 weeks from tonight is Tuesday the 29th of July.
I don't have my calendar.
Anybody, does that not work for anybody? We don't all have to be there, but it'd be nice if we could be.
29th.
Bill, is it possible, Lorraine, to send us an email on that?
I was just thinking about that. How about if I just send an email to you guys tomorrow?
So, all right, so
And we'll just throw out a couple of
how about the
dates.
last week of July then?
Last week of July.
We look at the 29th, 30th, and 31st. It's 3 days.
The 28th.
Or the 28th.
20. Yeah. Throw that in the mix.
So the 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. We'll see where we get the majority of people willing to meet. I'm thinking we meet like at, what, 4 o'clock? Spend a couple hours driving neighborhood roads.
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock? 3 or 4 o'clock? Come back here and have a meeting on it?
3 o'clock, yeah.
We'll try to get a vehicle that this time that will accommodate all of us. If we have to borrow it from somebody. We got a little minibus.
Only better walkie-talkie.
I'll work on that.
Nobody liked the walkie talkies? I thought that was okay.
Ted, the township board should buy a little minibus.
Yeah. After we fix the roads.
Yeah, let's spend our $1 million on the minibus.
This is not Wayne County.
Yeah, probably some townships will keep holds that. All right, so at any rate, that's the time frame. Then you're going to be on vacation during that time.
So I'm just going to be coming back, so the 28th might be tough for me, but...
All right, well, we'll ask what days.
29th, on Tuesday would be okay, but the 28th, I may just be coming back.
Okay, you've all had a chance to read this item. Is there any other discussion on it? All right, that ends that discussion. Our next meeting is August 12th. As chairman, I have no further report. I'll ask for commissioners' reports. Ted? Les?
We have a very important date tomorrow. our vice chairman's birthday is tomorrow.
39?
And my son, Mike Riley, MD, also the same birthday.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Congratulations. No,
That's it?
Thank you, Les.
that's all I
All
have.
right, thank you. Phil?
Nothing further.
John?
Nothing further.
Jim?
Do you skip the public comment time?
Oh, I did. Mr. Pilsky's here now with Mrs. Pilsky. We skipped over the public comment time, so you're all invited to come up and speak if you wish. No takers? We learned before you got here that supposedly they started work on your project, so Loretta's going to talk to Mrs. Pilsky tomorrow, and hopefully that's the case. So, okay.
If anybody's wondering, Bill's great at what he does.
Make that announcement about the bridge tomorrow. Here.
Thank you. I don't know what that meant. Ron?
Nothing more tonight.
Jim?
Yes, I do. I really have nothing, but I just got right off the, hot off the press here. Tomorrow, Wayne County's going to be working on Parkway, and it'll probably be down to one lane from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3 in the afternoon.
On the bridge?
So there's going to be some congestion going down Parkway, getting off the bridge. So just be aware of it. It's not closed down completely, but yeah, tomorrow.
Is that the catch basin that they're going to be working on
Yes.
finally?
Yep.
East of that steel plate.
The steel plate. Yep.
Woody's steel plate.
Woody's steel plate.
Woody, yeah.
Very important. A flagman will be directing traffic. So it's supposed to be a one-day deal and be done by the end of the day.
July 28th to August 3rd.
Well, at least they're doing it when school's out of session. Anyway. All right. Thank you, Jim. Loretta, anything else?
The only thing I have is that Wayne County is sponsoring another household hazardous waste collection. This one's going to be on Saturday, August the 16th at the Westland Shopping Center. We'll have that information posted on the webpage for anybody who's interested.
All right, so you'll post it Saturday, August 16th. Right?
Right.
And where's it going to be?
The Westland Shopping Center.
Where's that?
You enter off of Nankin Boulevard from Central City Parkway. It's right behind J.C. Penney's store.
What's the date?
August the 16th.
Is that off Wayne Road?
Pardon me?
Right off Wayne Road.
Yeah. And I got an echo. Do you hear that echo? I can keep
No.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I would like to support that motion.
Move supported, the meeting be adjourned. 8:30. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.